You're 8 years old, hiding in your bedroom closet while your parents scream at each other downstairs. Again. The words divorce and mistake keep floating up through the floorboards, and you're pretty sure one of those mistakes is you. Fast forward 20 years, and congratulations! You've successfully turned that childhood trauma into a full-time career as a professional disappointment. You're an addict now, which sounds way cooler than it actually is. Spoiler alert, it's not cool at all. It's pathetic, expensive, and surprisingly boring. Let's paint the full picture of your delightful childhood, shall we? Your dad works 16-hour days, because apparently providing for his family is easier than actually talking to them. Your mom copes with her failing marriage by becoming best friends with a bottle of wine that she insists is just for cooking. You learn early that emotions are inconvenient. Crying gets you sent to your room. Being happy gets you told to calm down. So you develop the emotional range of a brick wall, which will serve you absolutely perfectly later when you need to justify why shooting heroin between your toes seems like a reasonable Tuesday afternoon activity. Your parents finally divorce when you're 12, and both of them handle it with the maturity of toddlers fighting over a toy. You become their emotional messenger pigeon, carrying passive-aggressive messages back and forth like some sort of dysfunctional postal service. Tell your father he's late with child support again. Tell your mother I was late because I was working to pay for her lawyer. You're basically a walking therapy session that neither of them wants to pay for. But here's the beautiful irony. You think this pain makes you special. You think your broken home gives you depth, character, street cred. You start romanticizing your own suffering like you're the main character in some indie film about beautiful tragedy. Plot twist, millions of kids have shitty parents. Your trauma isn't a unique snowflake, it's more like a basic Toyota Corolla in a parking lot of Toyota Corollas. Functional, predictable, and ultimately forgettable.
Now, let me introduce you to some of your fellow travelers on this magical mystery tour of self-destruction. Take Robert Downey Jr., for example. Hollywood golden boy, talented beyond measure, had everything going for him. Then he decided cocaine was a better career advisor than his actual agent. Spent years getting arrested in random people's beds, passed out in his own filth. Very glamorous, very rock and roll. Or look at Whitney Houston, one of the greatest voices of all time, reduced to a punchline about crack pipes. She went from singing I Will Always Love You to loving crack rocks more than oxygen. The woman who could hit notes angels envied ended up hitting rock bottom in a bathtub. And then there's your brother Jake. Remember Jake? Star quarterback in high school, full scholarship to college, had that infectious laugh that made everyone want to be around him. Now he's 35, living in your mom's basement, and his biggest achievement this year was successfully stealing catalytic converters without getting caught. His morning routine consists of checking 3 different pawn shops and practicing his I'm totally not high right now face in the mirror. You thought you were different, though. You thought you were smarter than them, more controlled, more self-aware. You had it all figured out. You'd be the functional addict, the one who could maintain relationships and hold down a job while casually destroying your central nervous system on weekends. Because surely you're the exception to every rule that's ever existed about addiction. You're special, remember? You have that delicious childhood trauma that makes you deep and interesting. Let's walk through your glamorous descent into chemical dependency, shall we? Phase 1, the experimental genius. You're 19 at some college party, and someone hands you a pill. It's just Adderall, they say, helps you focus. You take it because you're intellectually curious, obviously. Not because you're weak or damaged. You're conducting research on altered states of consciousness. Very scientific, very sophisticated. The pill works. You clean your entire dorm room, write a 15-page paper on Kafka in 3 hours, and reorganize your music library alphabetically, by artist, then by album, then by emotional resonance. You feel like Bradley Cooper in that movie where he becomes limitless, except you're just a college sophomore who discovered amphetamines. Phase 2, the functional professional. Fast forward a few years. You've graduated. You have a decent job, a studio apartment that doesn't smell like ramen and regret. You've upgraded from stolen Adderall to actual cocaine because you're a grown-up now with grown-up problems and grown-up solutions. Friday nights become cocaine nights, then Friday and Saturday, then Thursday through Sunday because Monday is technically still part of the weekend if you think about it correctly. You convince yourself this is what successful people do. Work hard, play hard, snort expensive white powder off expensive surfaces while discussing cryptocurrency and how Elon Musk is either a genius or an alien. You're still showing up to work, still paying your bills, still maintaining the illusion of having your life together. You're not one of those addicts. You're a high-functioning professional who just happens to require pharmaceutical assistance to feel normal. Phase 3, the creative visionary. Now you've discovered that drugs don't just make you feel normal, they make you brilliant. That novel you've been meaning to write, pure genius flows when you're high. Those business ideas, revolutionary. Your insights about the universe, profound beyond measure. You spend 3 days writing 47 pages about how traffic lights are a metaphor for societal control. You create a business plan for a company that sells artisanal air to people with breathing anxiety. You write poetry that you're convinced will change the world, but when you read it sober, it's just the word beautiful repeated 63 times with increasingly creative spelling errors.
Here's the thing nobody tells you about being constantly high. It's boring. Monumentally, soul-crushingly boring. You think you're having profound experiences, but you're actually just sitting in your apartment for 14 hours straight, convinced that the pattern on your ceiling holds the secrets to quantum physics. Your idea of adventure becomes choosing between getting high in your bedroom or getting high in your living room. Sometimes you get really wild and do it in the kitchen. Your relationships become transactional. Friends aren't thinking you enjoy spending time with. They're either potential drug sources or obstacles to your drug sources. That girl you've been dating for 6 months, you realize you've been high for literally every conversation you've ever had with her. You have no idea what her personality is actually like because you've been chemically incapable of paying attention to another human being. And the money? Oh, the money. You're spending your rent on substances that last 3 hours. You're choosing between groceries and getting high. And somehow, getting high always wins because being hungry while sober is apparently worse than being fed while homeless. But here's the beautiful irony. You keep doing it because you're chasing that first high, that moment when everything made sense and you felt invincible. Except that moment never comes back. It's like trying to recapture your first kiss by making out with strangers in increasingly desperate locations. So here's how your grand adventure ends. Not with a dramatic overdose or a cinematic rock bottom moment. You get evicted because you spent your rent money on cocaine. You move back in with your mother at 32 years old. Your mom finds your stash while doing laundry. Not hidden in some clever secret compartment, just sitting in your pants pocket like loose change. She doesn't cry or scream, she just looks disappointed, which is somehow worse than anger. She says, "I thought you were smarter than this," and you realized you thought so too. You end up in rehab, but not the nice celebrity rehab with yoga classes and organic meals. You're in the strip mall version next to a Pizza Hut, sharing a room with Gary, who's been clean for 6 months and won't stop talking about his passion for collecting vintage bottle caps. Your grand finale isn't dying young and beautiful like a rock star. It's sitting in a circle with 8 other people, talking about your feelings while drinking gas station coffee that tastes like regret dissolved in water. The most rebellious thing you do all day is choosing chocolate pudding over vanilla at lunch.
So congratulations! You've successfully transformed from a promising human being with potential into a cautionary tale that parents use to scare their teenagers. You wanted to be special, to stand out, to be the tortured artist with depth and character. Well, mission accomplished. You're definitely memorable now, just not in the way you planned. The beautiful irony is that in trying to escape your boring, predictable life, you became the most boring and predictable thing possible. Another addict with the same story, the same excuses, and the same ending as millions of people before you. You thought drugs would make you interesting. Instead, they made you a statistic. You thought they'd give you stories to tell. Instead, they gave you stories you're too ashamed to tell. But hey, At least you've got that childhood trauma to blame it all on. That's something, right? That makes you special. Just like everyone else in that circle, drinking terrible coffee and pretending vanilla pudding is a meaningful life choice. Welcome to recovery. Population, everyone who thought they were the exception, is why it sucks to be an addict.